When her son won the Heisman Trophy in 2005, Pam Tebow never dreamed it would give her an instant national platform for a pro-life message. But that's exactly what happened, and the ripple effects continue today. Take a look.
Pam Tebow and her husband Bob lived for a number of years as missionaries in the Philippines, sharing the gospel. Yet she never expected her family's name to be known around the world. But when her youngest son Tim won the Heisman Trophy in 2007, details of his birth were featured in the news. While pregnant, Pam chose life for Tim against a doctor's advice, which instantly gave her a national platform for a pro-life message. In her book, Ripple Effects, Pam shares how everything you do has an effect on others and how you can make a positive difference in the lives of those around you.
Please welcome to the 700 Club, Pam Tebow. Pam, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Your book, Ripple Effects, just out?
Yes, last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday. How wonderful. What a great message you share. And it's evident in Tim's life as we've all watched your son walk out some challenges. But another way of saying that, in a sense, is that every action has a reaction to it. Right. But you were able to teach that to your children at a young age. How did you pull that off?
Well, I think I was desperate as a parent that I really wanted to impact their little lives. And I taught them early on that whatever they do will impact the lives of other people. You know, I have some fun illustrations of how I do that, but I'm so glad that it took. You know, that's really God intervening and giving me wisdom, but more than that, giving them the heart to listen and then to carry it out. Right.
Well, words are so powerful, and you talk about that in the book, and you and I were just talking for a moment before we came out of that commercial about how your husband spoke something into Tim's life long before he was known or famous for his football. And it's almost like a prophetic word from a parent to a child. Talk about that.
Well, he told Timmy he was an athlete from very early on. We could tell he was gifted. My husband said, son, if God gives you an opportunity to be successful at sports, then you need to use your platform to honor him with. And so Timmy took that seriously.
Well, and you all have shown that by the way that you've lived your lives. I mean, as I read your book, I thought you and your husband are really risk takers. I mean,
that would be my husband. I just followed along.
But you don't walk on the easy side of the street. You make choices and decisions that have impacted your family, like moving to the Philippines when your family was very young.
That's right.
And beginning a ministry there that continues today. What impact do you think that had on your life and on your children's lives?
Oh my goodness, I don't think we'll know until eternity, because my husband has a passion for the gospel, and so my kids picked it up, and you know, they grew up as youngsters in the Philippines, and then they went on mission trips every year, and they saw my husband start an orphanage in 1991. They saw him start a safe house for rescued girls, and our oldest daughter and her family are missionaries in a very hard place, harder than the one we went to. And I'll never forget when she came to me and she said, Mom, Joey and I can't wait to trust the Lord for our missionary adventures like you and Daddy did.
Wow.
And so they watched my husband and I trust the Lord. They watched all the circumstances, especially her as the oldest. They watched what we went through, and they realized that you can trust the Lord and that he's faithful and trustworthy. So they were excited about their own adventures to come, and they've had them.
You talk about that in the book when you talk about your love and Tim's love for poetry, and you share a little poem, kind of a reminder to all of us, really, that people are watching us. They're watching the way that we live, what we say, how we walk it all out. Another way that you were a risk taker and influenced in that way was you became a homeschool mom, and that wasn't really the popular thing to do.
That was not me either. My husband came up with the idea before it was a word, before homeschool was a word. No one did it. And he said, honey, we're going to homeschool. I thought, we're going to do what? And I thought if I submitted to him, that God would surely change his mind. And then 25 years later, I got to retire. But, you know, the Lord knew that we would go to the mission field after that, so I'd have to know how to homeschool. We went to the mission field at a time when most missionaries thought they had to send their kids to boarding school. And they watched us homeschool our kids, and I think it encouraged a lot of them that they could do that too. And we have two with dyslexia, and that made a difference, being able to protect them early on from the criticism that they would have received. And, you know, Timmy writes about dyslexia in his book because he wants all those kids out there to know if they have some kind of a learning disability, God didn't make a mistake. He wired them like that. And Timmy is so competitive that he won the academic Heisman too. He said, as long as I'm going to college, I might as well give it my all. And I think he wanted to prove to people that dyslexia couldn't hold you back.
Don't label me.
That's right, don't label me. And people do that, and they're wrong to do that because God's the one that's in charge.
But what an impact you had an opportunity to have upon your children because you had that kind of time, that kind of focus, that kind of intentional parenting with them. I mean, it's quite remarkable. One of the things you did in this whole ripple effect concept in teaching them what you felt mattered and was significant was to teach them through songs. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I love the fact that what's learned in song is remembered long.
Yes.
Now, I'm not musical, so that helps people know that you don't have to be musical. And when I speak at events, I always sing my verses because I think that encourages the listeners that, you know, you don't have to be good at this, that God could use all of us, because there's so many instances in Scripture about how God told the people to put 40 verses to, in Deuteronomy to music. And so I did that all along from the time my oldest was 5.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful because it's still it's stuck in their heads. And I had a great illustration that you probably read about how I taught my kids, because our first night in the Philippines, a robber came into our room. My husband had left us to find a home for us on another island, and robber came in, and it was pretty frightening. So I put a scripture to a tune to help them with their fears.
Yeah.
When I am afraid, I will put my trust in you, and it goes on. And then I sang that to them every night when they went to bed. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to be with my 2 daughters and 5 little grandkids at a birthday party for one of them. And then after a long day of party and play and all of that, the girl said, Mom, you go put the kids to bed. And they were wild and crazy. And so I told them a story, and they said, Grandma, sing us a song. So I started to sing, When I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. And every one of those 5 kids sang along with me. And I realized that was the ripple effect, because I had taught that to their parents, and their parents taught it to their kids. And I was so overcome with emotion because God did that. I could have never envisioned, never. So he does so much more than we can imagine.
Absolutely.
So much more.
The ripple effects, it is something that impacts all of us. And you need to read the opportunities you have to have a ripple effect on the people in your life. And not just the people in your life, but when you're not even looking, the world all around you. It's available wherever books are sold. You'll enjoy hearing more about Pam and her family and their life. In fact, if you'd like to hear more from her, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/700club.